بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوكل عليه. نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Indeed, all praise and thanks be to Allah Azza wa Jalla, the Almighty, the Tremendous. We praise Him, we seek His forgiveness, we ask His help, we seek His help, and we trust in Him. And we bear witness that there's nothing that should be worshipped except Allah, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and messenger. We also seek refuge in Allah from our evil deeds. Indeed, those whom Allah has guided, no one can send astray. And whom Allah has sent astray, no one can guide him. We bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger, and we seek Allah's help in following that message. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Allah addresses the believers, all those who have Iman, those who have believed. Ittaqullah, be conscious of Allah, be aware of Allah, have God consciousness. ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Do not die except you are Muslims. As Prophet ﷺ used to say, asking Allah to let us live by Islam and die with Iman. Indeed, the greatest thing that can happen to a person is to die with Iman, meet his Lord with Iman. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. Now Allah addresses the people in general. Allah is asking the people, or commanding the people to have taqwa, be aware of Him, be conscious of Him. After all, He's the one who created them, so they should be aware of Him in terms of who their Lord is and from whom they should seek help. Allah is the one who created them from one soul, a single soul, Adam alayhi salam, and from that soul He created His mate, Hawa alayhi salam, Eve. And from them too, Allah created a multitude of men and women. Then Allah reminds us again to have taqwa, to be God conscious, and to respect the relations, the womb that bore you, your parents and relations in general. And indeed, Allah is the one who's a watcher of all of us. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطيع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. Now Allah returns to addressing the believers. O believers, have taqwa of Allah and say a word which is truthful and to the point. Allah will improve your situation and forgive your sins. Indeed, whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger has attained much success. Today we're going to be talking about Shariah, Shariah Al-Islamiah. For us Muslims, there's only one Shariah, which is Al-Islamiah, the Islamic Shariah. Right? So I'll just recite a couple of verses, or say a couple of verses from the Quran, indicating that Allah has commanded us to follow Shariah. Right? Then we go to the details of the Shariah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِ. Allah tells us that He did not create the jinn kind, or jinn, and mankind, except to worship Him. So this is the purpose of creation. Ibadah. In other words, you have no other job but ibadah. This is what we were created for. Likewise, the angels were created for ibadah, and the jinn were created for ibadah. The difference between these three creations, or creatures that Allah has specified, there could be others, we don't know, but at least these three have been specified. Angels, al-malaika, Allah's creatures, that are made from light, that have no job and no option but to obey Allah, no choice but to obey Allah, nothing else. Allah created jinkan, or jinn. We can't see them, they're here around us, just like angels, in a different dimension. And they can believe and disbelieve. They have a choice. And they were created from smokeless law. Amongst them, we have Muslims, amongst them, non-Muslims. Then of course Allah created mankind. Right? Man has the option to worship or not to worship. He has a choice. Just like the jinn, he has a choice. And it is on this choice that Allah will judge him or her. But what is this ibadah? Allah created mankind for ibadah. What is the ibadah? What is worship? Does this mean that you spend your time in a mosque or in a temple or in a synagogue or wherever and that's it? No, that's only one type of ibadah, a specific kind of ibadah. But ibadah, as the scholars say, is a generic term which refers to anything that Allah asks us to do which will gain His pleasure, or not doing it will gain His wrath. So you going out there to seek your sustenance, working with a good intention to get sustenance for your family, this is ibadah, this is worship. You read the Quran, that's worship. You make the salah, that's worship. You picking up the harmful thing from the street is worship. So anything that refers to a good deed, good in the sight of Allah, that's worship. And that's a broad term, a broad meaning that we're using for worship. Then Allah goes on to say, إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. Indeed, Allah has ordained or commands justice and ihsan, and doing good to people in general, and وإيتاء ذي القربى, and giving to relatives. وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر, and He forbids fahsha, shameful acts, and evil deeds and rebellion. Allah admonishes us so we can remember our duty towards Him, our position in this earth. Then of course Allah sent His messengers, and to speak about the Prophet ﷺ and his position amongst the believers, the Sahaba, and those who come after him, it says, ويأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر. ويأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر ويحل لهم الطيبات ويحرم عليهم الخبائث. So this is the position of Prophet Islam. What does he do? He commands, he orders the people, the believers, with that which is good, and forbids that which is evil for them or bad for them. And he makes halal that which is good for them, and he makes haram that which is bad for them, the evil thing, the bad things. So these three verses summarize the position of the Sharia, or the meaning of the Sharia, in a nutshell. So let's go look at the word Sharia a little bit, right? We say for the street, the road, Sharia. This is Sharia. This is a street, a road, a path. Likewise, the Sharia of Allah, the Sharia refers to the path that Allah wants us to take. It is the road that we travel in our life. It is the set of commands and prohibitions that Allah wants us to live by. There's a path, that's the path we follow. The not so narrow and straight path. Because the path is not so, it's a narrow path in one sense, but really it's not so narrow. Right? It is a straight path which will lead us to salvation in hereafter. So the idea of the Sharia is to order and arrange our life. So Allah created man, and man interacts with man. Man interacts with his Lord. And this interaction has to be regulated somehow. And this is the position of Sharia. Right? Whether it's on a personal level or a state level, you know, there are recommendations or rules and regulations to be followed by both, where possible. And as we have seen in the time of the prophets of old, Ibrahim alayhi salam, was given a Sharia. And in general, a prophet who is given a book is referred to as being given a Sharia. And he's a messenger in that sense. He brings a Sharia. So, the deen of Allah is one. Inna deena 'inda Allah Islam. Inna deena 'inda Allah al-Islam. Indeed, the deen with Allah is al-Islam. The deen, the way of life with Allah is al-Islam. Al-Islam, submission to Allah, basically. That's what it is. In other words, if Allah created you to worship Him only, then your position is to submit to that. So naturally, the deen of Allah is al-Islam, submission. Because that's what He created you for ibadah. Now, the people of Adam's time, Adam alayhi salam, was a prophet. The people who followed Prophet Adam alayhi salam were Muslims. They followed Islam. They had a Sharia. The people who came after and followed Idris alayhi salam, they're Muslims. People came afterwards and followed Ibrahim alayhi salam, his Sharia, are Muslims. The people came at the time of Prophet Musa alayhi salam and followed him, are Muslims, regardless of what they call themselves. So they might have called themselves Yahudi, Jews, or Nasara, Christians. Regardless of what they call themselves, they were Muslims. Those people who accepted the message of the Prophet of his time and followed it, they're Muslims. So the Jews of Prophet Musa alayhi salam are Muslims. They're the believers, regardless of whether they call themselves Muslims or not. But that's what they are, they're Muslims. The people at the time of Prophet Isa alayhi salam who believed his word and followed him, they're Muslims. And as research has shown, the word Christian were given to them by others, not by the people of Christianity who said they were following Prophet Isa alayhi salam. The word was given to them by somebody else. Regardless of what it is, those people who followed Prophet Isa alayhi salam, the Nasara, and they're mentioned in Arabic in the Quran, they're Muslims. So the name is not really relevant. The thing is, did they believe in the Prophet of their time and did they follow him? Those are Muslims. For us, it so happens that Prophet Muhammad so he speaks the Arabic language, and the word al-Islam is an Arabic word. So it's stuck really with the Arabic language and Arabic people. So we're called Muslims. We could be called somebody else. It doesn't really matter. As long as we believe in the Prophet of our time and follow him, we're called Muslims. Right? So we come to the aspect of Sharia. And the Sharia, of course, differs from prophet to prophet, from Rasul to Rasul. It could differ, it doesn't have to differ, but we know it has differed. We know that the deen is one, al-Islam is one. This is the deen of Allah, is called al-Islam. But the way you carry out al-Islam, the way you show your Islam, the way Allah has prescribed Islam for us, varied over the years. It differed with the Sharia. So you might find certain things in Sharia of Musa which were not in Sharia of Isa alayhi salam, or things in Sharia of Muhammad alayhi salam, not in Sharia of Musa, but that's fine. It's not like Muhammad said, okay, I want to be different from Musa alayhi salam, so I want to change some stuff. No. If anything the Sharia of the Prophet is different from the Sharia of other Prophet, we can say that Allah is going to make it like that. It is Allah's revelation to make it like that. So if Musa's Sharia was different from Ibrahim's Sharia in some aspect, that's Allah's word. Musa didn't say, oh, I want to be different from Ibrahim alayhi salam. No, it's not like that. Allah revealed the Sharia to the Prophet, and if it's different from another Prophet, so be it. That's not our concern. Our concern is, what do we have right now in front of us? We have right now in front of us the Sharia of Muhammad alayhi salam. Whether that's the same with the Sharia of Musa or Isa or Ibrahim, it doesn't matter. Allah is not going to ask us about the Sharia of Ibrahim. He's going to ask us about the Sharia of Muhammad alayhi salam, because we live in his time. And that's the essence of Islam, to follow the Prophet of your time. We don't negate the Prophet of the message of other prophets, but we don't follow their message specifically. So even if we had the Sharia of Musa alayhi salam in front of us right now, and the Sharia of Muhammad, we don't take from Sharia of Musa alayhi salam. We don't do that, no. Sharia of Musa is gone, it's past, because Musa alayhi salam came and went. So that Sharia is like buried. And Allah gave us Sharia of Muhammad alayhi salam. Right? Deen of Allah is one, al-Islam. The Sharia differ. Now, the Sharia itself is not something that Allah said to Prophet Muhammad, Muhammad, here's Sharia. Article 1, 2, 100. No, it's not like that. You know, in Allah's mercy, you know, the Sharia is not fixed 100%. There are some fixed elements in Sharia, yes, things that will never change. But there are things that will change from time to time based on the time, the place, position, etc. These will change. And this is where we come to the word fiqh. You know, Sharia is the law which is in the Quran and the Sunnah. It's there. It's not there in the sense that this is Article 1, this is Article 2, Article 3. It's not there like that, but it's there. The Sharia is there in the Quran and Sunnah. It's there in the sense that there are specific things, and there are things which allow us to determine other things from it. So, for instance, the Prophet ﷺ, there's no idea of smoking in his time. We haven't heard of anything that called smoking, people are smoking, or abortion, or surrogate motherhood, or things of this nature. Or what if you have twin sisters? Twin sisters were born one body and two heads. How does she get married? I mean, are you marrying two sisters at the same time, which is haram? Or are you marrying one sister? I mean, these issues did not exist at the Prophet's time of Islam. So does that mean that we have no, we can't say anything about it? No, the Sharia is there. The Sharia is the guidance. And this is where fiqh comes in. Fiqh is the procedure of extracting the Sharia from the sources. So the Sharia may differ based on which scholar or which let's say procedure you're following. It will differ, and that's why we have fiqh. We have the great fuqaha of Islam, the Imam Shafi'i, the Imam Ahmad Hanbal, the Imam Abu Hanifa, the Imam Malik, the Imam Awza'i, the Imam Sufyan Thawri, and all these great imams. It so happened that in our time, or for the past some years, 4 of those great fuqaha, their schools and their students have remained with us. It doesn't mean that there are only 4, no, but these are the 4 because Muslims have fallen into a lazy state. So instead of pursuing fiqh to its utmost, they became lazy and they said, well, we'll just do with Imam Malik's madhab. That's good enough for us. And they became stagnated. But that's fine too, in the sense that not everyone is meant to be faqih. Not everyone is meant to be a fiqh specialist. It won't happen, and it's never meant to happen. Everyone can be a doctor or a teacher or a sanitation engineer or whatever. People will be this, will be that. But what the lay person has to do is follow the Sharia according to this imam or that imam, whatever. And the best thing is to be consistent. If you're going to follow let's say you decide not to go with one of those 4 names. You're going to go with a different name, a Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen or something. Fine, cool. That is great too. But be consistent. Try to follow the fiqh of that man consistently. Because the fuqaha, they have criteria for getting to the fiqh, getting to a judgment. So if you start taking from this one and this one, this one, you might end up contradicting yourself. Because this one has a certain criteria, which is different from this one, different from this one. You're taking here, here, here. It's a confusion. It's a confused state. It's best to stick to one path of fiqh consistently as a layperson. Now, if you happen to study and reach the level where you can go through the evidence and come to a conclusion, good. So be it. And it's encouraged. But of course, the reality is that not everyone is going to reach that stage. 95%, 99% of the people will not reach that stage. So don't waste your time. What Imam Malik radiallahu anhu did, what he did, was a great job. And his work, his line of reasoning, has been improved upon over the years. That line of reasoning has been worked upon and improved upon from that time until now, at least 1,000 years. So if a layperson says, well, I want to follow that, then he can feel very assured that what he's following is not something based on limited knowledge. It's something which is based on 1,000 years of scholarship. So he can feel very comfortable that he's on the right path. as far as the execution of the details of the deed is concerned. And he doesn't have to worry about it. Alhamdulillah, it's a blessing from Allah that we have those great scholars, you know. And it's not for me, it's not for me to say, well, you know, the people of Imam al-Shafi'i are wrong, and I want to stick to Imam. No, we don't say that. We don't say that. They're all correct. They're all correct. They're all right. The fiqh of these great people are all correct. They're all right. From a layman's perspective, they're all right. They're all correct. The difference is no big deal. If they differ in something, and that thing was wrong, there's a reward for that, because the person, the imam or the scholar gets the reward for ijtihad, for exerting himself to reach that conclusion. And if he's correct, then he gets two rewards. One for ijtihad and one for being correct. So the bottom line is that, you know, there's no wrongness in it. They're all correct from that perspective. And we don't have to spend our time in deep philosophical. I mean, we lay people who don't have the information, the knowledge, the requisite knowledge to make sense in our discussions, we don't have to waste our time going through, well, this sheikh says this, and this sheikh says that. We can't tell the difference who's right and who's wrong. We can't tell. We don't have the requisite information. We don't have that information to be able to say this person and this person. So it's a waste of time. What we can do, if we have time, is to learn what they learn, the basics of what they learn, which is the Arabic language, and look at the evidence that they put forward. For example, in Imam al-Shafi'i, in his madhab, and all the other madhabs, there are books written about how the fuqaha of that madhab came to that decision. There are books with all the evidence, Quran, Hadith, what the Sahaba did, Qiyas, and all that. So whoever is really seriously interested in finding out the dalil, or the reason why you do things a certain way, go to that book, which is in Arabic, which is not being translated. So you want to be serious about the question, they're in Arabic, and go to the book yourself, and you can see. But is it really necessary? No, it's not. And that's for the curious mind. But most people, you know, have a family to support, they have to go to work, etc., etc. They have a job, they have a profession. So now you want to take on another profession. If you have time for it, fine, you can do it. But it's going to take a long time to get to that level. So in the meantime, the 1,000 years of scholarship is in front of you. That's good enough for me. So let's not waste our time in silly arguments about dalil, when we don't even understand what dalil is. It doesn't make sense. Moving on. The Sharia, in general, has a number of goals. And these goals are very simple. 5 basic goals that the scholars have put forward. The Sharia is there to preserve the deen of Allah. It's there to preserve life, to preserve a person's self, to preserve your offspring, and to preserve or protect their property. Those are the 5 main goals of Sharia. It's a protection of these things. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. We're going to take a break now and come back and then continue with the discussion about Sharia إن شاء الله. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين. استغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم إنك عفو كريم واعف عنا. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي والمؤمنين يوم الحساب. The goals of the Sharia are to preserve and protect our deen. One of the goals is to protect our deen. So it is the duty of that person whom Allah has put in power to protect our deen. To do that which is necessary to protect our deen. What does that mean? Well, whatever it is that we need to worship Allah should be provided for us. For example, salah. Yes, the whole earth has been made a masjid for the Muslims. But weather conditions and other conditions, you know, mean that or makes it better for us to worship in a building. So it is upon the government to establish a masjid. If it's not, if you're living in a place where there's no such government per se to help, then it's the duty of Muslims in general to establish that masjid or that place where they can make salah, the musalla. Right? The government should provide ways, for example, for making Hajj. Alhamdulillah, we've seen that the Saudi government have done a pretty good job in the Hajj preparations. Of course, a lot of us say that what they have done now could be done ages ago, but alhamdulillah, what they've done, they've made a lot of improvements from so many years. And we appreciate that. That is their job. It's the Kaaba, or the place of Hajj, is in their country, and they have the means to do it, so they should do it. They should do it. It's not like we're asking, you know, it's their duty to do it. They should do it. Alhamdulillah, they've done it. Right? As far as other aspects of life is concerned, the deen is concerned, they should facilitate that. Whatever it is that needs to be done. For example, in some countries, there's the government will help people to get married. This is part of our deen, getting married. There are those who don't have enough resources to get married, so they're helping. That's good. The problem, of course, is that we don't have an Islamic state per se in the Muslim lands right now. We have a lot of Muslim countries, but how many of those Muslim countries are living by Sharia? For the most part, I mean, there's only one country per se, at least one country, Saudi Arabia, that says we are ruling by Quran and Sunnah, or by Quran. Our Dastur, our constitution is Quran. It's good they say that, alhamdulillah bil alameen. Others don't say it, but it's good they say that, and they try to implement that somehow. Of course, there's a long list of things we would like to see improved, but some things better than nothing, alhamdulillah bil alameen. Right? And of course, other countries, for example, Turkey, Egypt, Morocco, Indonesia, etc., they have aspects of Sharia in their law. And what they try to do, of course, after the colonizers left their land, what they have is something which they call the law, or the penal code, or whatever it is. They have something, and in that they try to include aspects of Islamic law to make it a little Islamic, so to speak. Well, of course, sometimes it is good, sometimes it's bad, because if you are going to apply the Sharia, then you should apply the Sharia. Can only be applied when the conditions for applying it are there. So if you're going to be chopping off the hands of thieves, then you need to make sure that the conditions for not stealing are there. In other words, you can't be squeezing the people so hard, you know, and force people to do things that they would not normally do, and then chop their hands off when they steal. That's injustice. That's not adl. That's injustice. In other words, the law can only be applied when the conditions for applying the law exist. So if the conditions don't exist, it'll be injustice. For example, in Umar's time, there was a starvation, there was a famine of some sort, and food stuff was scarce. People were stealing. So what did he do? He suspended applying the Sharia, the law, the had punishment of cutting off the hands for thieves, because the conditions were that people could not do without stealing to survive. In time of Umar ibn al-Aziz, he gave an order to punish the man who has servants or slaves. If that slave went out and steal, then it should be investigated. Why did he steal?